All right, welcome everybody to episode 4 of Aggressively Speaking. My name's Tony Dabrowski,
Troy Frank.
and welcome back to our podcast. A lot to talk about today, Troy.
We do.
So much so that you actually have notes for this week's podcast.
Well, I'm kind of done of just kind of riffing it because I just feel like I'm never as prepared as I should be for this podcast. So I do have notes this week.
I think one John Henson slip up doesn't mean you should get notes.
No, but I just, forgetting KCP was on the team for half a second.
We would all
just miniature stuff like that. I feel like I should just come in a little bit more prepared.
Well, we would like to all forget that KCP was a Piston at one point. We almost paid him, but that's neither here or there.
That was the last time he was good, so I mean,
that is very true. But let's talk about today. We'll do a little bit of NFL playoff talk coming up here. We'll talk about the national title game. Obviously, LSU, go Tigers.
First college football game I've watched from opening kickoff to final play in a very long time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. What made you want to watch the whole thing? Weren't you at work?
I was, and I was sneaking it in. I was sneaking watching the game.
Look at you go.
Yeah, I know.
Proud of you. So, yeah, we'll do some national championship talk with LSU and Joe Burrow. We got to talk about the Pistons and their attempt at a rebuild. A lot to talk about there. But obviously, we got to start with the Lions because they are making news this week by hiring a new defensive coordinator and former Eagles defensive backs coach Corey Udelin. Everyone already knows my thoughts on this, so I'll kind of keep it brief and then send it over to you. My thoughts on it haven't changed since I made the video on Monday. I will give Corey Udelin a chance because I feel like that's what we have to do. Though he is a first-time defensive coordinator, from what I've read from people who cover the Eagles and people who cover the NFL on Twitter, Corey Udelin is a guy who is really respected around the league, really respected within the Eagles building. There were a lot of people who were saying that he was next in line to be the DC whenever Jim Schwartz eventually left. And according to Dave Burkett, actually an article he wrote at the time recording this video yesterday, Corey Udelin had other DC coaching opportunities. He just never took them. He's taking this one, though. So he's, like I said, well-respected around the league, and we have to give him a chance here, even if he is a first-time DC. But I will say this. It's win now next season. We all know that. Playoffs are bust. And
it is.
We're seeing in the NFL playoffs right now, which we'll talk about in a little bit here, you're seeing teams win solely because of their defense. I mean, in today's age of how innovative the offense is in the NFL, we are still seeing teams win playoff football games because of their defense making plays. We all know the Lions' defense was a complete disaster last year, and Matt Patricia and Corey Udelin, they better fix it, because if not, people are going to get launched into the sun, a.k.a. Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts on Corey Udelin?
I've been seeing the same things as you. Like, players really respect him. The coaches really respect him. The organization really respects him. The only thing is, and it's not really as warranted as I've been seeing. The Eagles fans
That's actually a good point.
Yeah, Eagles fans have been trying to string him up for the entire season. And, the secondary was god-awful this year in Philadelphia. I will say that.
They were banged up, though,
But they were banged up. The only thing is that I have to look at that, though, is this Lions team was also riddled with injuries. And if it's tough for him to coach around that, you wonder if it's going to be the same way for him on the Lions. Is he going to be able to coach around all these injuries that we're inevitably going to have because this team seems to not stay healthy anymore?
Well, Matt Patricia making changes to the training and strength and conditioning team, I hope fixes that. Hopefully it better. But, you brought up the Eagle fans. I talked to a few Twitter followers of mine who are from Philadelphia, just to kind of
Siren.
to try to pick their brains on Corey Udelin, and I mean, they were like, yeah, I mean, he was next in line to be our next DC, but Jim Schwartz obviously isn't going anywhere anytime soon, so it's no big deal.
You don't think he's going to get another head coaching job pretty soon?
Well, for this upcoming season, he won't, obviously. He'll be there. I mean, he interviewed for the Browns job before they gave it to Kevin Stefanski. I mean, you could take that for what it's worth.
Oof.
But
And the Giants didn't even think to hire him, or even, they didn't even think about him when they went and hired a random Patriots guy.
Well, the Giants are on something.
The Giants are just the Lions of the East Coast.
They're just silly. They're just a silly organization now. But like Eagle fans really didn't care, but it's still interesting to talk about though, because obviously this is a big hire for Matt Patricia. I mean, like I already mentioned, the defense was a complete disaster last year. And though it's already been reported that Matt Patricia will start the season as the defensive play caller, which somebody told everybody that already.
Honestly scares me more. I don't know why, but that scares me more than just giving the defense to Udelin.
It just goes back to everything you and I have been talking about since the beginning, especially me. And you have said this too, even before our podcast. It's still Matt Patricia's defense.
Oh,
you know, like everyone wanted to blame Paul Pepperoni, and he was the scapegoat. But at the end of the day, guess whose defense it was? It was Matt Patricia's.
Yeah.
He was the play caller. He's the guy with the scheme and always rushing threes, so on and so forth. Like, how much do you believe Corey Udelin will have a say in Matt Patricia's defense when it's already been reported he will be the play caller to start the season?
Yeah. And you know what also bugs me just from what you mentioned like 2 minutes ago
about
Udelin getting opportunities to be the defensive coordinator somewhere else. Why the hell would he want his first defensive coordinating job to be here?
I assume it's because of Matt Patricia.
That would be the only reason, though. This team does not have any potential on defense, at least at the moment, especially when they're about to trade away their best player.
The Patriot connection. They were both Patriot assistants in 2004. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I assume the reason this was his first gig as a defensive coordinator was because of Patricia. You know?
Like I said, that'd be the only reason.
Boy,
this team is not, it's not tempting for any guy that's
it's
pretty
the Lions.
Qualified.
I get that. But, it's a boy hooking up his boy, Now, I don't associate this with Matt Patricia hooking up a friend. I don't look at this as Bob Quinn hooking up Matt Patricia's boy with the head coaching gig, because I don't know what Corey Udelin is yet, I don't know if he's going to come here and I don't want to say he'll stink it up because he's not the play caller.
I mean, you're essentially giving him 1 year to prove himself, because this coaching staff is not going to survive the end of the year.
And that's unfair to him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we're bad next year, I mean, there's nothing we can really do. Sorry, Corey Udelin, but yeah, your coach.
It's all on you.
Yeah. And this is
suck.
And this is the thing with next season too. There's no more scapegoats next year. Like the first year, the scapegoat on the coaching staff was Jim Bob Cooter, and deservingly so. I thought he was an awful OC. Last year, the scapegoat, very predictably, Paul Pepperoni. But the difference between Jim Bob and Paul was that Jim Bob was the play caller, Paul was not. Yeah. So, but and regardless, he was a scapegoat. This year, there ain't no scapegoat. I'm going to interrupt you, but there is no scapegoat this upcoming season. It's just win or get out. That simple.
Yep, and that's it. And, I mean, honestly, that was... this was not maybe the topic we should have started with, because there's not a lot to talk about with him. It's just a matter of, what, we'll see. A lot of people respect him. Fans don't. And that's all we have to go on.
Well, Philly fans are also Philly fans. I mean...
Yeah. But, I mean, they also look into things a lot more deeply than I would say some fans here do.
I mean, after they pound down a couple drinks, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, Philly fans are wild. They are a wild bunch.
I cannot wait to see what happens if, a team there wins a championship again. Team
They're
not
passionate.
named the Eagles.
They're passionate.
The Sixers or something.
They are a passionate bunch, I will say that. But as for this hiring, I mean, you already kind of touched on it. It's just more of a wait and see thing. We have to wait and see who Bob Quinn actually gets to upgrade his defense. But at the end of the day, it is kind of unfair to Corey Udelin because, like we said, he's not going to be the play caller. It's kind of hard to assess.
Yeah, like what can
he's
he
going
really
yeah
do? He's not a play caller, and he's basically only got 1 year to prove himself. He's just kind of there as we need a defensive coordinator, so let's put a body there.
I'm just hoping he could come here and just maybe smack Patricia and be like, hey,
smack him around saying, this is my team now.
Clean it up, man. What are you doing over here? Let's send more than 3, okay?
Let's go 4. You know what? Let's go back to a 4-3 at least.
Right. I don't know. Like you said, just kind of a wait and see thing, but it's going to be really interesting to see what happens.
It is. I also, we don't have this on the show notes, but I do want to bring up very briefly Snacks and whether or not you think he'll actually come back for next season.
I don't know Snacks personally. I don't know what's going on there, but after week 17, it definitely seemed like he was going to retire, did it not? I mean, Again, I don't know Snacks personally. I don't know if he's going to retire or not, but like...
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been playing all that well.
He took a step down this year.
That's for sure.
There's no doubt.
In the all-new trend of defensive players retiring early.
Not just defensive players.
Yeah,
I mean...
players in
we
general.
would know.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised, although with the trend that the Lions have set for veterans that have retired, I don't know either. Because, maybe if Snacks really wants his money, Lions won't give it to him. And I don't know if he'll want to deal with that.
I feel bad for Snacks. I mean, he seems like a really nice guy. He's always on Twitter, tweeting at fans and saying nice stuff. He's an easy guy to root for, but if he walks away, that's his decision, but that's going to create a humongous hole on this Lions defense. Yet another one, because then, the Lions aren't going to re-sign Ashawn, so they're going to need a D-tackle, like a day one starting D-tackle. And if Chris Jones doesn't hit the
Mike
market...
Daniels back.
Oh, God. I was so happy when the Lions signed Mike Daniels, too. I just thought that was such the perfect... final piece to the puzzle for this team, and obviously
on paper that defensive line was nasty.
Oh my god, it was. I mean, it looked so good, but
you got a run stopper, a pass rusher,
two run stoppers.
Yeah, 2 run stoppers, a pass rusher, and Trey Flowers. You
had a guy like Romeo Cora who good last year. Yeah,
and. It just fell apart for no reason, it seemed
Romeo Cora did nothing. Snacks got old. Mike Daniels' foot fell off. I mean, the only guy who did anything on the D-line was Trey Flowers. Trey Flowers was really good last year. But
for half the season, I'll say.
No, I think he was
worth... I digress.
He was worth the signing, I think. He put up Trey Flower numbers last year. Career high number in sacks. Got pressure to the quarterback. And Trey Flowers did what we asked him to do, but everyone else not really.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens next year, especially that defense. And this also isn't on the show sheet notes, but I talked about this on Trash Talk today. I just want to get your thoughts on it.
All right.
Do you think this is going to work at all?
What, Udelin?
No, Matt Patricia. Next season?
No, I have literally no confidence. In fact, and I don't know, I might get jumped in the streets for saying this.
Well, not for me. You know how I feel.
I hope we go 2-14 next year.
Well, that would be the end.
Because here's how I look at it. It's almost inevitable we're firing this coaching staff and Bob Quinn.
Yeah, Bob Quinn would go too.
And frankly, there's no better way to start a new regime than with the number 1 pick in the draft.
It would be Trevor Lawrence, by the way.
Exactly.
I mean, so you would want Trevor Lawrence.
Exactly. We'll talk about it later, but yeah, I do.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is a special talent. Again, we'll talk about that in a second.
He's a beautiful man, by the way. He's
those luscious locks. Oh God! Like despite popular belief, I don't want to see Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn fail because I don't want to go through another rebuild with this Lions team. I don't.
I'm fully on board with it.
You want to, I don't. You know, there's a popular belief on Twitter that I want to see them fail. That's not true, but it just goes back to what we've always said about Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia. They've given me nothing to believe that they are the guys. I hope they prove me wrong in year 3, but if they don't, well, then yeah, we'll be looking at a whole
Tank for Trevor.
Whole new thing next year. New coach, new GM, new quarterback, because I don't want to see Matthew go through another rebuild. That would be at the point where I'm like, I love him. Trade him to somewhere where he can win something, because he wouldn't win here. So
Hashtag Tank for Trevor.
Woody Woodruff was listening to my show today, and he said tank for T-Law.
T-Law?
T-Law.
I don't know if I like that as much.
Oh, no.
What? It's tank for Trevor. It's kind of along the same lines as tank for Tua. It sounds pretty similar. Tank for T-Law does not.
Dude,
that doesn't roll off the tongue as much.
It's January 2020, and you're already on board to tank for Trevor Lawrence.
Dude,
oh my God.
Trevor Lawrence would look amazing in a Honolulu blue.
I'm not disagreeing,
headband.
But at the same time, it just goes to show you how much confidence you don't have in Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia.
Oh, it's literally at 0.
Yeah, and I brought this up on Trash Talk today too. It just goes to show you where we're at with this Lions franchise. They hired a new DC, and instead of talking about like, oh, this is awesome, what will he bring from Philadelphia? What can he do differently schematically and stuff like that? What players can he maybe recruit from Philadelphia? Instead of that, we're talking about Trevor Lawrence and everyone getting fired. That just goes to show you where we're at with the Lions. But That's what happens when you go 6-10 and then 3-12-1.
Yeah, there's no talk of playoffs at that point. At least not for me.
I just can't wait for draft talk. I mean, we've already started draft talk, but like I'm talking about like the scouting combine.
2021 draft talk.
Oh God, I meant 2020 draft talk. I can't wait for the scouting combine for pro days, and we can really be like, okay, who are we taking? You know, now right now it's just kind of like speculation, but once the scouting combine comes, it's going to be like, dude, this guy blew up at the combine. I like him, you know?
I kind of want to end the show with more Lions talk at the end with draft possibilities.
I was actually hoping that you would that would be a good transition for you to mention a player that I saw you tweet about earlier today.
Yeah.
We can talk about him.
We'll touch on that later.
In the okay, because he played in the national championship.
It's more. It's easier to talk about him in respect with the game that he played the other day.
With that, though, screw the Lions.
Yeah. We're still talking rebuild.
Now with the Pistons.
But now with the Pistons.
Rebuild.
Again, as we talked about last week. But this is a little different. We've got new news. Drummond in trade talks with the New York Knicks. Langston Galloway in talks with the Philadelphia 76ers.
And Luke Kennard.
Because Ed Stefanski, he's taking calls on everybody. Which is surprising to me. And I want to know what your feelings on that. Personally, I don't mind it. I think Luke's a really nice player. I don't know if I'd see him as a starting shooting guard on like a high caliber playoff team. I think he'd be a good 6-man or like leading scorer on the bench. But you know, I mean, as a trade piece, that's probably where he fits best on a rebuilding team. And he's already 24, and by the time the Pistons are good again, he's going to be like 26, 27. Not saying that's like
that's
a bad
right
thing.
In his prime.
That's right in his prime, and you know, I think you look at him, I think you take calls on him. Not saying you trade him, but you know, at least see what you can get for him at the moment.
Well, here's my thing with the whole anybody's available thing. There are people who are untouchable on this roster. The Pistons won't admit it because it's smart for Ed Stefanski to take calls on everybody because you really don't know who has value and who doesn't. Like, guys like Sekou, Bruce Brown, Savi, they aren't going anywhere. We all know that for a fact.
You think Svi's untouchable?
They just traded for Savi. It's his second year in the league. They're not going to trade him.
Yeah, but I mean, people have been bounced around before. It's not.
Do not trade Savi. I like Savi a lot.
I know you do.
He's already blossoming.
I know.
I like
I'm just
Savy.
saying, like, as trade pieces go,
No.
he's a nice one.
No, don't trade Savy. He's too young. I think that's someone who could be really nice off the bench for you. But no, I didn't go crazy seeing the report, and I forget who reported it, saying that the Pistons are listening to calls for anybody. I think it might have been Vince Ellis. I don't know. But anywho, I didn't go crazy over that report because I think that's smart of Ed Stefanski to do because, like I said, you don't know who really does have value or not. But
it's a good way to evaluate your roster. That's for sure.
Yeah. But there are some guys who you aren't trading. Both because you don't want to trade them and because you can't trade them. Like guys like Blake. You can't physically trade him.
He's untouchable, not on purpose.
It's amazing to me how some people still tweet and are like, man, they need to get rid of Blake. You can't.
Maybe if this was this time last year, you could.
You can't trade Blake. He's dead. But, I mean, guys like Langston, you can take calls on him and probably trade him.
And in fact, seeing teams like the Sixers look at them and want them.
They are such a good fit for Langston Galloway.
They are.
And
it's perfect. It's perfect. They need shooters because, Ben Simmons is a corpse on offense.
Not a shooter.
He'd be perfect there.
Langston and Luke would be perfect on the Sixers, but you brought up Luke Kennard. That was a report that made Pistons Twitter explode. I don't think you trade Luke Kennard. I still feel like he's a piece for the future. I mean, let's not forget before he got hurt, he was averaging 16 a game as our starting shooting guard. Like that's pretty solid. And it's only year 3 for him.
And you trade, guys that, get more touches than him. Maybe we're looking at a 20-point scorer.
There you go. That's why I don't want to trade him.
Like you get rid of Drummond, who's, takes like, a lot of touches on the offense, hogs the ball for a little bit of time, tries to, do his hook shots that never work, and give the ball to Luke instead. I think there's some magic that could happen.
And Stan Van Gundy took him over Donovan Mitchell. I think you have to give Luke a chance to turn into something.
You really do. I mean,
you have to give him a chance. And obviously I like Luke Kennard, so I don't want to see him go, especially as it only being his 3rd year in the league. But for the Sixers to be interested in Luke Kennard, it makes sense because he's obviously a good shooter.
Did you call him just a younger JJ Redick?
Oh, I thought you were going to say, or do you consider him untouchable? A younger JJ Redick.
Is that the perfect comparison?
I mean, JJ Redick is like a knockdown shooter. Luke has his moments. He's not a knockdown shooter yet, but I think he can become that.
Okay.
I mean, when Luke gets hot, we can see Luke is hot.
Because I want to see where his potential lies.
I think his potential is right around above 20 points per game scorer, about 39% from deep. I mean, what today's NBA is.
Now, 20-point scorer on a bad team is what you're saying, though.
Maybe we'll be good sooner rather than later. It doesn't take that long in the NBA to rebuild if you do it right. Look at the team I'm repping right now, the Memphis Grizzlies. Look at this shirt, by the way. Look at this shirt, by the way. It's cold.
I can't see it.
Like baby blue.
Oh, that is nice.
It's a nice shirt.
It's pretty. It's pretty simple, but I like it.
That's why I bought it.
Yeah.
I have no ties to the Grizzlies outside of John Morant and JJJ. But anywho, it just if you
draft picks is all they needed too. It seems like
if you draft correctly and you get a little lucky, you'll be fine. The Grizzlies drafted correctly because of Ed Stefanski, and they got lucky in the lottery and got John Morant. That's all it takes in the NBA.
Was Ed Stefanski involved in the John Morant pick?
No, but he was before he came here. He was with the Memphis Grizzlies. He was in their front office.
Like he's the reason they got JJJ.
He helped draft Jaren Jackson Jr. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
By help, you mean like he wasn't even like.
Let me see what his
title was. Mm-hmm. His role.
I don't think he was the GM there. I just think he was like a
scouter.
I don't know what he was. Let me look it up. By the way, Ed Stefanski's son, Kevin Stefanski, Cleveland Browns head coach now. Did you know that? I was
wondering if that was if they were related.
Mm-hmm.
Really? So is So his
Here we go.
dad was like, "You're going into basketball, son," and he's like, "Screw you, Dad. I like football more."
Okay, here we go. So
I
this
can
is
just see that.
I'm reading this from Wikipedia. In 2014, Ed Stefanski, was hired as vice president of player personnel for the Memphis Grizzlies.
So that was his title until we picked him up.
Before that, Stefanski was executive vice president of basketball operations to the Toronto Raptors from 2011 to 2013 and GM of the Sixers from 2007 to 2011. So,
honestly, that's a really good track record. He was a GM of the Sixers when they had like Drew Holiday and they were making the playoffs pretty consistently. With like Evan Turner and them. And then, he goes over to the Toronto Raptors and he was there when they acquired Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. And then he goes over to the Memphis Grizzlies, helps them get Ja Morant, JJJ, and then he comes here. That's actually a really good track record.
Why I have faith in this Pistons rebuild turning around quickly, because of Ed Stefanski. Like, people like to rip on Ed because he's not the GM. The Pistons don't technically have a GM right now, but I trust Ed Stefanski to build this the right way.
I trust him the most out of any of the guys that they're tossing around as, like, guys that, do moves for the Pistons. Because, what's the other guy's name?
Malik Rose.
No. Well, yeah, Malik Rose is one of them. That's not the guy I'm thinking of.
Arn Tellem,
yeah.
Oh.
He's
Well, he helped the Pistons get D Rose, so you could take that for what it's worth.
I guess, yeah. 2-year deal. The only team offering him a 2-year deal.
Okay, let's not act like Derrick Rose was on a ugly contract. 2 years for $15 million is not terrible.
Yeah, it's just hard to trade him a little bit. I should say a little more hard to trade him now, considering he's got another year and a half left.
I don't think so. He's got a year of control. If he was on an expiring contract, I think it might be harder, because look at Andre Drummond.
That's true.
It's kind of hard to trade him, but if you traded him last year, you could say he's got that extra year, so you could kind of convince him, But anywho.
Man, last year was such a good year for us to trade somebody. In hindsight, 2020, but yeah.
I wasn't against the Pistons making the playoffs last season because I actually thought it would help them this year. I was dead wrong. This thing went nowhere this year because of the injuries, and the Pistons, unlike the Lions, can use injuries as an excuse, but they're not. They know they're not good, so they're just going to trade anybody they can, except apparently Derrick Rose, unless he wants out. Did you see that report?
What?
They're not going to trade Derrick Rose unless he asks out. Which I still don't believe that to be 100% true. So before you get angry, I don't believe all that to be true. I think by the trade deadline, teams will call for Derrick Rose and the Pistons will listen.
Yeah.
I do think that's still going to happen.
I'm crossing my fingers right now.
Let's cross our fingers he stays healthy.
Yeah.
That's our biggest thing. Not if a team will actually call. Will honestly, he be healthy by February 6th? Yeah. That's my biggest concern.
February 7th, if he's still on the team, I don't know, get injured, I guess.
I don't know about that. Well, I don't want to see Derrick Rose get hurt.
Well, I don't want to win any more games. That's the thing. And if we still have him on the roster, I don't want him to ruin that. I don't think he's too good to have us lose every game.
I don't think the Pistons are going to win many games anyway because their schedule's so brutal in the second half, but I don't know. That's just kind of where we're at right now with the Pistons.
But I do want to talk about the trade rumors they are getting from Andre Drummond.
You want to talk about the Knicks?
I want to talk about the Knicks.
I think that's so hilarious. Could you imagine getting traded from Tom Gores to the Knicks and James Dolan? That'd be so bad.
After you demand a trade, thinking that this is an awful organization, and then you go to the Knicks and realize just how good you had it.
Well, Andre didn't demand a trade. He's just kind of
isn't he just the full on all right, I'm ready to get out of here now?
With the way he's been playing over the past couple of weeks since the initial trade rumor came out from Woj, I do believe he's at that mindset of, you're just going to trade me. Like, get me out, you know?
I'm just going to play up so that
He got benched the other night. He was playing so, unmotivated and crappy. Dwayne Casey benched him in a basketball game in which the Pistons went to overtime.
So it almost sounds like he doesn't want to get traded. Because if he's doing this poorly right now, People are going to be like, well, why would we want him?
Teams are still calling, so it's not working, I guess.
I mean, it's the Knicks that are calling, so I guess.
Well, no. I
Knicks
mean,
are always.
Hawks, Mavericks, Celtics, Raptors.
You think those teams are still in touch pretty heavily? I've seen the Hawks, or I've seen a lot of reports about the Hawks looking somewhere else.
Because the Hawks are the Hawks, and they don't want to trade a first-round pick. That's the report. They could have had Andre already if they traded a first. They apparently don't want to trade Brooklyn's first. So,
well, I don't blame them. They're still in rebuild, so.
Not Brooklyn.
Oh, I thought you said the Hawks.
No. The Hawks pick, they have Brooklyn's pick.
Oh,
they don't want to
just registered to me, my bad.
They don't want to trade that Brooklyn pick, apparently, for Andre Drummond.
That's the 25th pick in the draft. I don't know why.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I would take that.
Yeah.
Atlanta, they're rebuilding too. I guess they would as well, but
you're gonna have more faith in the 20th pick in the draft than a top 10 center in the league. Top 5 center.
I guess that's the Hawks for you. If you had the chance to pair up Andre Drummond with Trae Young, I would do it.
I guess they're more worried about losing him at the end of the year. Like, does Drummond want to re-sign with the Atlanta Hawks? Which I could see that being an issue.
It just takes,
especially for a first-round pick.
It just takes one team to fall in love with Andre. Like, if Andre hypothetically went to Atlanta and started balling out, like, why not pay him? Yeah. Like, especially him and Trae Young, who are reportedly good friends. If they start, like, balling out together and the Hawks start winning games down the stretch, why not? You know?
Yeah. Now, with his trade rumors to the Knicks.
They're hilarious.
There's a couple out there. Dennis Smith Jr., Frank Ntilikina. They're both involved. Not together, but just like separately.
Yeah.
I told you the other day I like Frank Ntilikina more, but
I do too.
They're both on the exact same deal basically right now.
If the Pistons,
I didn't realize that at the moment because I thought Dennis Smith Jr. was on a $15 million deal.
It's still his
rookie. Yeah, it's still his rookie deal.
It's only his third year.
It is a lot. It's a lot sweeter since I realized that.
If the Pistons traded Andre to the Knicks, one of them would be coming to Detroit. I don't hate either of them. I know Dennis Smith Jr. has been kind of getting a bad light because he can't really shoot that well, and I get that. But he's still a young point guard that you can try to build around, and that's what the Pistons would need. Now, Frank Ntilikina, I would like him a lot too because
he's got a Piston name.
Frank Ntilikina? Well, it's French. You know who else is French? Sekou. Man, the French Revolution in Detroit, man. Get Sekou and Frank Ntilikina on the same team. Oh, baby. That'd be fun. But, you said you like Frank Ntilikina more. I agree.
I do. Yeah. I think that's the guy that, if you're the Pistons, you got to look at from the Knicks. He's the only guy there that I would want, honestly. That team is full of duds.
The Knicks make sense, too, because they have a lot of expiring contracts that can fill salary. They have a ton of draft picks that they can include in a trade for Andre Drummond.
Do they have cap space to just take Drummond without giving up a lot of cap?
Well, they would need to match the salaries regardless. So
okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
if it was the off season, I don't think you have to worry about that. But
now, who on the Knicks would we have to take in at that point?
I mean, it's literally like guys like Taj Gibson, Bobby Portis. Maybe a Reggie Bullock reunion, Wayne Ellington.
Bobby Portis is actually not that bad of a player to have on your rebuilding team.
I mean, the Pistons wouldn't build around a guy like Bobby Portis. They would just take him back to fill the salary.
He's a good guy to have on a rebuilding team.
Would you take Wayne Ellington back?
Why not?
They gave him a fat contract this past offseason, so he might be involved. I would love to have Reggie Bullock back, though. I like Reggie.
Yeah,
I miss him.
He was. He's one of the reasons why I think that we kind of faltered. Getting rid of him, at least, I should say.
What do you mean?
I liked him on the team, and I thought he added a lot to the team.
Yeah.
And I think getting rid of him was a bad move.
Well, I mean, look at the time the Pistons traded him, though. I mean, they were looking at selling at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and I guess you did get Svi out of it. So
there you go. That's my point. I like Svi.
So you want like a Drummond for Ntilikina and Bobby Portis? deal would be the
I mean, I don't know.
the great the
I don't know.
ultimate deal for you.
I don't know who they would have to trade to match the salaries, but like something along those lines, like guys to match a salary, Frank, and then maybe a draft pick. That would be fine.
Yeah, I don't even need a draft pick, like 2020 draft pick.
I don't need a draft
2022, 2023.
I don't even need a draft pick, period. If you gave me Frank, I would take him. Because the difference between Frank and Dennis Smith Jr. is that we kind of know who Dennis Smith Jr. is right now.
Yeah.
Frank,
He's still pretty raw.
we really don't know that much about him.
He's still pretty green.
Yeah, so. And with a guy like Dwayne Casey, who is historically been known to be good at developing younger talent, it would be interesting to pair him up with Frank. But
Yeah.
that's if the Knicks do it. I mean, the Knicks, they could wake up tomorrow morning and be like, no, we don't want Andre.
We never wanted Andre.
Where did this report come from? Oh, sorry, I burped. Where did this report come from?
Jesus Christ.
That was my James Dolan impression.
Oh, I thought you just legitimately burped.
No, James Dolan. No, James Dolan burping and being like, we don't want Andre. Andre.
He's a little off his rocker.
You think? All right, I think that's enough Pistons talking for right now.
Yeah,
enough Detroit sports talk. Let's talk about something non-depressing. What about the NFL playoffs?
NFL playoffs. We got a lot of things to touch on.
Yeah.
The demise of Lamar Jackson.
It's not the demise of Lamar. Let's calm down here.
The Phoenix rising from the ashes, seemingly, of the Kansas City Chiefs.
We have so much to talk about. Let's go game by game. So let's start.
Where do you want to start?
Let's start the first game of the weekend. Minnesota at San Fran. My biggest takeaway from this game.
I did catch a couple quarters of that, by the way. I was very busy that day, but I still found time to watch about 2 quarters of that game.
My biggest takeaway from that game is that San Francisco is without question the favorite in the NFC. They are
for sure.
They might be the favorite to actually win the Super Bowl too. They are such a good football team.
I don't know about that, but we'll talk about that.
I think so. I mean, you look at their offense. First of all, they're coached by Kyle Shanahan, who back before he was hired, people were saying he's the offensive Bill Belichick, which just think about that for a second. That's insane. And we're seeing why people called him that this year. He is such a good head coach.
He's doing a lot with, honestly, not that much. Jimmy G is like their best.
I don't know about that. That offense is loaded. You got Jimmy G at quarterback. The offensive line is stacked.
You got guys. Really good.
You got guys like Deebo Samuel, Emmanuel Sanders, George Kittle, Mostert, the running back, Tevin Coleman. I mean, they are loaded offensively. I do
forget about George Kittle and Tevin Coleman. I forgot they were on the team. Honestly, that's my bad.
You brought notes.
I need more notes.
You need more notes.
I need more notes.
And that's just offensively. You look at the defense, you have guys like Nick Bosa, D. Ford, Kwan Alexander, Richard Sherman.
That whole team is stacked.
That team is so stacked. And it
shows you how much of a different situation this is from the Lions.
I was just about to say that. This is why I said during our Lions segment, the defense needs to be better because you're seeing in these playoff games, teams are winning because of their defense. The 49ers defense shut down the Vikings offense. It was insane. It just goes to show you need defense to win a Super Bowl.
But I will say, I don't think that Vikings offense was really in too much to hold a candle to.
It's not, but still, to hold that Vikings offense to, I think
12 points?
Let me see. I think they held them to under 200 yards of offense. Let me check. I know this is live. Hold on. Saturday.
I will say that.
Hold on a second. I almost got it.
Well, I was
box
talk
score.
While you were looking it up, but
they held them under 200 yards of total offense. Dalvin Cook in that game, 9 attempts, 18 yards. Insane.
That is insane.
Insane.
I guess I don't know how much teams respect Kirk Cousins. Especially in playoff games.
Let's be nice to Kurt. Let's be nice.
I mean, I'm not wrong, but
yeah.
I didn't have to say it.
We can't rip on Kurt too much after going into the Dome and beating the Saints, but
you didn't have to do anything.
He made some big throws in that game, Troy.
He had like 3 good plays, and the rest of the game he just sat back and laid down on a pillow.
I don't know about that. Let's be nice to Kirk Cousins. He got his first playoff win. Let's be nice. But anywho, you still can't discredit the 49ers performance against the Vikings. That was really, really impressive.
That was
and
really impressive.
I think they're going to crush the Packers on Sunday, and I think they will be favored to win the Super Bowl, regardless
Honestly,
if they play Tennessee or KC.
I will say this. I think the Packers have no right being in the NFC Championship.
We'll talk about that in a second. I completely agree. But yeah, I think the 49ers are going to be the favorites to win the whole thing. I mean, they are just so stacked.
They are.
Hold on a second. Gotta apply the chapstick because my lips are just spilling right now. Talking about the playoffs.
You want to know what else is dry? Lamar Jackson.
Oh God, I knew it was
Dry
coming.
it up.
I knew it was coming. I knew it, but I let you have your moment. Ugh, terrible. Okay, so let's move on to the next game. Tennessee at Baltimore. Before we talk about Lamar Jackson, let's talk about the winner of that game, Tennessee. My biggest takeaway from that game is
they're a giant killer.
At least one Bill Belichick Patriot disciple will work out as an NFL head coach. Mike Vrabel. He is such a good head coach. I mean, for the Titans to go in 3 straight weeks into Houston to beat the Texans to clinch a playoff berth, go into Foxborough, beat the Patriots, and go into Baltimore and beat the Ravens, it was just unbelievable.
Dude, it's great.
The Tennessee Titans they're the Patriots. They run the football down your throat with Derrick Henry, who is
Which
an
they
animal.
can do. He's a brick wall with wheels.
His body type, I don't understand how he's so explosive in open space with his body type. It makes no sense. But he is just such a beast.
Kind of reminds me of an early 2010s Maurice Jones-Drew. Remember?
He's better than that, but yeah.
It reminds me of that. He's like Maurice Jones-Drew was just huge, but he still played like a freaking speed back.
He's not like Derrick Henry, though. I mean, Derrick Henry is just out of this world right now.
Henry's on another level.
The Tennessee Titans run the football down your throat. They don't ask much of their quarterback, but when they do, Ryan Tannehill has showed up. I mean, Ryan Tannehill has been fantastic for them. And then defensively, they lock you down.
Yeah,
the Titans are just such a well-constructed football team. The opposite of the Lions.
Do I dare? Which is funny because they both basically.
They interviewed Mike Vrabel.
They were in the same place at the same time.
They also interviewed Mike Vrabel.
Oh boy.
Hired Patricia, and they interviewed Vrabel.
But I mean, is it too out of pocket to say the Titans have almost as good a defense as the 49ers?
I would say
not on the same level.
I would say the 49ers defense over Tennessee, but Mike Vrabel adds a different element to that Tennessee defense.
Yeah, I think it is more of an adaptable defense than the 49ers. I think the 49ers just throw the whole thing, including the kitchen sink, at you, and you just can't do anything about it. I think the Titans are more of, we'll play to your weaknesses.
San Francisco also has a really good defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh. He is a really good DC, future head coach in the NFL. Maybe for the Lions next year, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, Tennessee, they're an unreal football team. They deserve to be here, and I'm low-key pulling for them on Sunday. I would love to see them play in the Super Bowl. It's just, it just goes to show you. It just shows you why football is so much fun to watch. You know, guys like Ryan Tannehill, who the Dolphins traded him, goes to Tennessee playing for a Super Bowl or playing for a chance to play in the Super Bowl. You know, it's awesome. So Tennessee, good football team. They're doing good things over there, and it's good for the Nashville fan base too. Tennessee loves their Titans, man. I have you ever been to Nashville?
No.
It's a great city, and they love their Titans down there. So I know the fan base is rocking down there. But what were you going to say?
No, it just makes me giggle to hear that Ryan Tannehill is playing for a Super Bowl appearance right now.
It's a perfect situation. They don't ask much of him. Just throw the ball deep on play action, get it to AJ Brown or Corey Davis, and you'll be fine.
I mean, he's much more competent, but this kind of reminds me of Blake Bortles a couple years ago. It's like he didn't really need to do much. He just needed to make a couple big plays in order to make it to the Super Bowl, and he didn't, frankly. But you know, it does remind me of that. Of like, you don't need like super tremendous great quarterback to make it to the Super Bowl.
Jacksonville also had Saxonville at the time, so that makes a difference.
Like I said, it's the defense that's carrying both teams at the moment.
And Mike Vrabel, too, for Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee's game plan against Baltimore was insane. Yeah. You look at them using Marcus Mariota in practice as like the Lamar Jackson decoy. That's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, Tennessee, they're a great story this year. So was Baltimore before this game. Perfect transition. I think people need to settle down with the Lamar Jackson hate. He's still going to win the MVP.
He still had a great game, honestly. Like, I mean, he didn't have the enough like big plays to win the game, but he played pretty well for all the great defense that was thrown at him. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's on him that they lost at all.
No, it's not on him. Tennessee just had a really good game plan, like I said. Yeah. And yeah, we need to chill out with Lamar Jackson hate. Like he's still going to win MVP. He's still going to go into the season as probably a top 10 QB, honestly. Like he's just that talented. I mean, we need to chill out there. But at the same time,
he's still got a couple steps to take to being like, completely adaptable to any defense that's thrown at him.
Yeah, I mean, again, Tennessee had a really good game plan. I mean, if they would have played anyone other than Tennessee, like they probably would have been playing for a Super Bowl appearance this weekend. But Tennessee, again, going back to Mike Vrabel, he's a really good head coach. But yeah, let's settle down on the Lamar Jackson hates. I don't like seeing it at all.
So we moving over to what's next? Packers or Chiefs?
It's Chiefs-Texans.
Okay.
So oh my God. I mean,
what a game that was.
You knew the Texans were screwed in that game when Bill O'Brien kicked a field goal on 4th and 1 inside the 20. You knew right then and there you're screwed because they could have had a chance to go up 28-0 on the road.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They could have had the chance to go up 28-0 on the road, and they kicked a field goal to go up 24-0. And right then and there, you knew the Texans were screwed. So, Bill O'Brien, it's your fault. But
I didn't know they were... Okay, let's be fair. They were up 24-0. I don't know if we were going as far as to say, well, they lost the game because they couldn't score a touchdown to make it 28-0.
If they would have went up 28-0 on the road, that's a lot different than 24-0. Especially if they went for it on 4th and 1.
Still, it's 24-0. I wouldn't have gone like, well.
Did you watch the game?
No, I know what happened.
Did you? If you watched the game, you felt the momentum shift because of them not going for it on 4th and 1. The momentum shifted, even with KC not doing anything, because they decided to kick a field goal over going for it at the 11, I think, on 4th and 1. The momentum shifted from there, and then all of a sudden, KC just went bonkers. They scored like 28 unanswered in like a 3-minute span.
It was three touchdowns.
Insane.
In 3 minutes.
Insane. I mean... my co-host on Trash Talk today, Graham Richards, brought this up to me. I wasn't aware of this. KC ended the game on a 51-7 run.
Oh, yeah.
Arrowhead Stadium ran out of fireworks, like touchdown fireworks, because they scored so much in a short period of time.
Oh,
it was insane. And, I mean...
I honestly think just because of the way they played and how, being down didn't take them out of the game whatsoever. I think the Chiefs, in my opinion, are the favorite for the Super Bowl.
The thing that concerns me about the Chiefs is their defense. I mean, their defense is better than what it has been, but if they get matched up with San Fran, I think I like San Fran better because of the defense. But
I think it'll be a total like offense versus defense play there. And I mean, the defense has been a lot better in the past like 6 or 7 weeks. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, we saw in last year's Super Bowl, number 1 defense, number 1 offense, and guess what happened? Defense dominated.
No, I'm just saying the Chiefs' defense, I mean, there was, like, if you were looking at the Chiefs from, like, week 5, week 6, yeah, there's big questions. I think this defense now is a lot better.
It is a lot better. They got playmakers like Honey Badger, Terrell Suggs, Frank Clark, Numbnuts, Chris Jones. They got playmakers on that defense. I'm not saying their defense is bad, but it's not San Francisco. Like, San Francisco's on another planet defensively than KC. But I mean, this AFC Championship game between Tennessee and KC is going to be so much fun. Like, I think Tennessee can't stop the Chiefs because they showed in Foxborough and Baltimore they can stop anybody. If you can stop Lamar freaking Jackson, you can stop anybody.
Yeah.
But it just, can they stop Patrick Mahomes? I don't know. We'll have to see.
My opinion is no, they can't.
I didn't have the balls to take Tennessee to beat New England or Baltimore, though I knew going into the game Tennessee can do this. I don't have the balls to take them here again. I just don't. I can't go against Patrick Mahomes, but at the same time, I'm trying to be proved wrong. Go
and
Titans.
It sounds like if they even win against KC, and I think San Francisco has a lock to beat Green Bay, but we'll talk about the Packers and how mismatched they're going to be. It sounds like you won't be picking them this entire playoffs. If they
Packers? Titans?
No, the Titans. If they win against Kansas City.
Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing, being the underdog. Philly won the Super Bowl by playing that underdog role.
That's true.
But yeah, KC, Patrick Mahomes, unbelievable. Also, if the Lions do move off Matt Patricia next season, KC's OC, Eric Bieniemy, I will love him as a head coach.
Okay. I can't wait for that day that we finally get to talk about head coaching options.
You think it's a foregone conclusion?
I do.
Oh boy, I hope not, but at the same time, it's just kind of like.
And in fact, not only do I think it's a foregone conclusion, I am actively excited for that day.
Oh God, the day we
hate this coaching regime.
The day we talk about it on the podcast, Troy's going to do backflips into the studio.
Dude, I'm getting streamers that I can just pop off. Is that okay?
Sounds good to me. Why not?
Sweet, dude. Fireworks down here.
We could get a clown on a unicycle.
Dude, I can't wait.
I'll start ordering some monkeys. Why not?
Yeah.
I want a monkey dancing on Tony's lap.
Oh.
Wow.
Just like kicking him in the balls over and over.
Like craps in its hand and throws it at me.
Yeah. Smacking him around.
Disgusting. Just smells awful down here for like at least a few weeks.
At least. You need to fumigate down.
I'm not cleaning that shit up.
John, get the shit smell out of your basement,
Open
man.
a window.
Oh, there's no windows.
Exactly.
On to the last game, though. Green Bay and Seattle. I know you're dying to talk about this. I am too, because I hate the Packers. Yeah, they're overrated. They always have been overrated. I said since day one the Packers are frauds, and I just think they're so mismatched against San Francisco. I hope San Francisco blows their doors off.
Aaron Rodgers is literally just carrying around dead weight, literally and figuratively. Like, he is just pulling this team as far as he can into the playoffs.
It's not even Aaron Rodgers, though. It's just they're getting lucky. Like, Aaron Rodgers hasn't even been Aaron Rodgers this season. He really hasn't. Like, Aaron Jones has stepped up this year. He's been really good for them.
Are you saying, dare I say, the NFL wants the Packers to be in the Super Bowl?
Well, duh. You kidding me? Of course they do. But, no, I don't think the Packers are matched well in this game. Obviously, if we're wrong, we'll admit to it. But, like...
I think they're going to get their face caved in.
Like, San Francisco is just on another planet than Green Bay.
Yeah. Unless somebody dies on San Francisco, I don't see them even letting this game be close.
Which I'm here for.
Yeah, honestly.
I'd rather...
The more pain and suffering that happens to Green Bay, the better.
I'd rather have a San Francisco, KC, or Tennessee Super Bowl than Green Bay, KC, Tennessee Super Bowl.
I think this whole NFL playoffs has been fantastic for just NFL fans in general.
Yeah.
Because I think you're getting rid of a lot of the villains of the league.
Because the Patriots aren't here.
Yeah, the Patriots are here. Hopefully the Packers aren't here.
All
the villains will be gone.
Unless your division rival is playing in the Super Bowl, everyone's going to be watching, and it's going to be like,
It's a lot of fan favorite teams.
yeah, it's going to be like, oh, awesome, go San Fran. Oh, awesome, go Green Bay or Tennessee, or KC or Tennessee.
Yeah.
You know, unless again they're your division rivals, but yeah, I don't think the Packers are matched well in this game at all. So
I mean, even if your division rival is playing in the Super Bowl, just root for the other team. The other team's just as likable.
right, so. The playoffs have been so fun so far. A lot of upsets. A lot of teams like Minnesota and Tennessee doing stuff no one ever thought was going to happen. They've been a lot of fun so far, and I think Championship Sunday and the Super Bowl will be no different.
Yep.
On to our last topic, though.
National title game.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
LSU actually did it.
They did it.
They beat Clemson in the Battle of the Tigers in the national title game. Trey watched the entire game and
was rooting for Clemson the whole time.
Oh, get out of here.
I was. I was the only person in America.
Because of Trevor Lawrence?
Well, I like Trevor Lawrence a lot, but I did like Dabo Sweeney in this game. And I mean, he's proven 29 straight wins. I just thought they'd get that 30th, but I was wrong.
Screw that.
I was wrong.
Go. It was just the exclamation point to what was a historical season for LSU. I mean, we have to talk about this LSU team being one of the best college teams ever. I mean, we have to. I mean, they went 15-0 this year, perfect record, Coach of the Year in Coach O, Heisman Trophy winner in Joe Burrow, top O-line of the year, top offense of the year, playmakers everywhere on defense. They beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, SEC champs, Peach Bowl champs, national champs. Like, it was just such a perfect season for them. And
I don't think you could get much better in this era of college football. That's like the pinnacle. I don't think you could ever do better than that.
The way they dominated every team they played this season was just remarkable. I mean, think about this for a second, Troy. This is a real stat, by the way. LSU this season alone beat all 4 teams that came into the season as preseason betting favorites to win the national title. Clemson, Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma. LSU beat all of them by a wide margin of points.
I was gonna talk about how LSU not only beat everybody, but they rocked everybody.
Whooped them cheeks. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
everybody, including these teams that were supposed to win the title this year.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they just completely dominated this season, and even
the national title game was one-sided. Not completely one-sided. Like
Clemson, for the first time this season, LSU had their backs against the wall. Being down 10 to Clemson in the national title game I thought they were screwed, but they just.
I think that James Skalski play was the final nail in the coffin. The linebacker for Clemson that got the targeting call. I think that was the final nail in the coffin for them. I think that was what really changed the momentum.
I think the final nail in the coffin was when Joe Burrow got hot. The minute he got hot and threw that first touchdown to make it 17-14, I'm like, y'all are screwed now. I've watched LSU too much this year to know once Joe Burrow gets that first touchdown pass to really get him going, yeah, I knew they were screwed after 17-14, even when they were still losing. And we talk about LSU's offense all the time, too, and deservedly so. But in the national title game, LSU's defense was insane.
They were.
I mean, at one point, they forced Clemson in the second half to punt it, I think, 4 straight times or something like that. Like, it's just...
They gave Trevor Lawrence fits.
Which no one has ever done.
Yeah.
Like, literally no one has ever done that. This was Trevor Lawrence's first loss.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, he kind of deserved the loss. I will say he didn't have his best game by any means.
Because of LSU's defense.
Exactly.
They made him uncomfortable, and it just
only had like 150 yards passing on 50% completion or something like that. And it was just that's not a Trevor Lawrence game by any means, and that just goes to show you how good that defense was.
I mean, LSU was so easy to root for this year. I mean, you look at a guy like Coach O, first of all, who
the teddy bear.
He wasn't. We all know he did not pan out at Ole Miss. And when LSU fired Les Miles, who was, at the time when they fired him, the best head coach LSU had ever had, to replace him and take the interim tag off Coach O, everyone was like, what the piss is LSU doing? And every year since then, coming into the season, when sites would release those like way too early predictions for the season,
Yeah.
people were predicting that Coach O would be fired. Like, there were articles released, and I remember this too. There were articles released before the season, I think like 2 years ago, saying like, Power 5 teams whose coaches are on the hot seat come into the season. One of them was Coach O. And like, that just goes to show you how much people didn't believe in him. And for Coach O to reinvent himself the way he did this past offseason, hiring Joe Brady as his passing games coordinator, and then LSU just become incredible offensively, and to win the national title, and for Coach O to win Coach of the Year, it's just easy to root for. It's also easy to root for Joe Burrow, who...
I don't know about that.
Oh, hush.
He is a cocky bastard.
After doing what he did this year, you can be as cocky as you want. Listen, Joe Burrow, you're a Trevor Lawrence fan. You've already established that.
I know,
I don't expect you to like Joe Burrow. I can be a fan
of both. I'm not like a Clemson fan.
Yes, you are. Joe Burrow coming into the season. Well, first of all, Joe Burrow transferred away from Ohio State because he wasn't the starter there. He came into the season as a 5th-round draft prospect by Todd McShay. In one season, he went from a 5th-round prospect from Todd McShay to being guaranteed to be the number 1 pick. I mean, the transformation he took this year was unbelievable. And it's not just a scheme thing. Joe Burrow legit took really good steps in his game this season. His deep ball is incredible. He's athletic enough to be dangerous on the ground, too. I mean, what he did this year was incredible. 60 passing touchdowns, a single season record, is unbelievable. 65 total touchdowns in the season.
Nuts stat line.
I mean,
at that. It's like something out of Madden.
To go from a 5th-round draft prospect and transferring from Ohio State because you weren't going to be the starter to Heisman Trophy winner, breaking records, national champion. That's so easy to root for me. Apparently not for you, but...
No, I mean, his personality's different, though. I mean, as a player, I guess you can root for him, and, like, the underdog story, he's just, as a person, he's just something else.
You're a Trevor Lawrence guy. It's okay.
I can be a fan of both quarterbacks.
You're not a fan of Joe Burrow.
I'm just not a fan of Joe Burrow.
That's fine.
As a person.
Okay.
Now, I was one of those people that... was always like for the past couple weeks leading up to the game saying something along the lines of like, is it possible that the Bengals might be actually more interested in Tua than him?
Absolutely not. Absolutely
you gotta
not.
let me finish. I was gonna say this national title game wrapped up his position as the number 1 pick.
Okay. Yeah.
You gotta let me finish, Tony.
Yeah. No. It's without question now he's going to be the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I think that game definitely just wrapped it up.
Not even the game, just the way he's played this season. Like I said, he went from a 5th-round draft prospect from Tom McShay to being guaranteed to be number 1. I mean, it's just insane the steps he took this year. And you might not agree with this, but it's easy to root for a guy like that. I really do believe it's easy to root for a guy like that.
I agree that it's easy to root for the story.
If you don't like him as a person, that's fine. But as a football player, even you can admit.
Yeah, it's a good story.
It's a really, really good story. Him, Coach O, the LSU program, it was a good story to watch them this year.
And I can always root for Coach O.
Who doesn't love Coach O? Unless you're in the SEC. Yeah. Like Nick Saban was on the ESPN, like the table set during the pregame. He looked so miserable. He was so miserable. Like, if you're an Alabama fan, obviously you can hate Coach O, but like,
do you think
who doesn't love Coach O? Go Tigers!
I think I will say in defense of Alabama.
Screw Alabama.
I mean, if they had Tua, I think they'd be in the national title game this year.
Absolutely not. They lost to LSU with Tua.
I think that was the difference.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Oh well. Joe Burrow.
LSU
won. LSU won. Who cares about Bama? They've won enough. Shoo. New people come along. I feel like you're kind of saying that, though, because Michigan played them. You didn't want to play them.
What?
If Tua was healthy, they would not have played Michigan and whooped them cheeks.
I don't care.
Oh.
I don't care that they whoop Michigan's cheeks. I'm just saying as a proponent of Tua, I think, having him on Alabama would have been a lot better.
They probably would have made the playoff with Tua.
Yeah.
But they didn't have him, and they didn't make it. So.
But yeah, Joe Burrow locked for the number 1 pick.
And LSU, by the way, I want to make this point real quick. They're not going anywhere either. Like, obviously, I know they lost Joe Burrow, and they just lost Joe Brady to the Carolina Panthers. But Coach O, he's already recruiting the hell out of the South right now. They still got their OC there, who was the play caller, obviously, last year. They'll be fine offensively.
Yep.
At LSU, they got a lot of players returning, too, on offense and defense. They'll be fine.
And I did see the post-game interview with Coach O, where he said, he's already looking to start recruiting players the night of.
And that's why
exactly what you want to do as the coach of the national title.
That's
winner.
what you want from your head coach. You don't want your head coach going to Rome.
He's gonna go home and eat a ham sandwich.
Go home and drink as much milk as your little belly can hold. No.
I will say I'm kind of nervous about the topics that Michigan fans are going to start bringing up about how, people didn't believe in Coach O, and now look.
Oh, God. Yeah, okay. You want to say that Jim Harbaugh's going to win a national title. Yeah, okay. Stay off
I feel like that's going to be a topic.
Oh, no, stop it.
Knowing Michigan fans, I feel like some people are going to attach that story to Harbaugh.
If Coach O could do it, how can Jim Harbaugh do it? Yeah, okay. Jim Harbaugh didn't reinvent himself, but okay. Anywho,
the national title game gave me some new perspective on some players that are going to be available in the draft.
Yeah, before you get into that, though, I do want to mention Clemson really quickly. They're not going anywhere either. I mean,
of course
the odds have already come out that they're favorites to win the title next year, and they should be. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is coming back. He will be the number 1 pick in 2021. In my opinion, as a draft prospect, he's Andrew Luck. He is that next generational type prospect. I know that's why you want him. Dabo Swinney's obviously still there. He's already established himself as, if not one, the second best coach in college football. They got a lot of guys returning on that defense. I mean, think about Clemson's defense for a minute. They lost a lot of guys to the NFL last year. Guys like Colin Farrell, Dexter Lawrence, Christian Wilkins, they all went to the NFL. It was technically a transition year for Clemson's defense, and they were still going into the national title game with statistically the top defense of the country. And that's insane. And they're all coming back next year, too. So Clemson ain't going anywhere.
Yeah. And I will say that defense is going to be really, really scary next year.
Yeah. And with regard to Trevor Lawrence, I mean, people are ripping on him because it was his first loss. Okay. He lost his first game. Cool. Yeah. They're going to be title favorites next year. They probably are going to win. I mean, let's be real here.
Yeah, in all honesty, the grand scheme of things, I don't think this tough loss for them will even factor into anything.
If anything, it helps them because in the NFL, you don't win by 50 points every single week. You know, you lose football games here and there. Like, that's how the NFL works, especially if you get drafted to the Lions. Like, that's just how it works.
Better get used to it.
You have to go through adversity in the NFL. And this loss for Trevor Lawrence, it's only going to probably make him stronger.
Yeah.
But, anywho, yeah, one of the things that made the national title game so interesting is the fact that there was so much NFL talent in that game.
Oh, for sure. There was like at least 3 or 4 first rounders in that
3 or 4. I mean,
at least
just from a draft standpoint, there had to be like 15, 20 guys on the field.
No, I'm talking first round picks.
Well, let's see.
3, 4. You got Trevor, you got Joe, Isaiah.
Well, if you want to talk about 2021 as well, you're getting into the teens. Honestly, I mean, LSU. All of them, the entire offense are first-round draft picks, honestly. Seriously. And then defensively, forget about it. You got guys like that freshman corner, Grant Delpit, he's a first-round pick. That probably entire D-line's a first-round pick. They've always got a stud linebacker, 2 or 7. And then Clemson, kind of the same thing. I mean, there's first-round picks everywhere. I
Yeah.
mean, it was insane how much NFL talent was in that football game. That's why it was so much fun to watch. But it'll transition to your point because there was one specific player. I just hit the mic on accident. There's one specific player that you fell in love with watching the national title game.
Yeah, and I'll bring up the tweet. I'll bring it up off the top of my head. I don't feel like looking it up. It was saying something along the lines of what the NFL draft will look like for the top 5 picks, like what they're projected to be. And they were saying the Lions will trade down to the 5th pick from.
It was Matt Miller.
So Matt Miller.
BR. Yeah, I remember that.
Okay.
I know that tweet.
Yeah, they were going to trade down and get. I don't know who they said they were going to get, but it was
For the Lions, Derek Brown.
Derek Brown. Okay, yeah, they were going to get Derek Brown, so that Miami could get Tua. And with the 4th pick, the Giants were going to get Isaiah Simmons. And I didn't feel comfortable with that whatsoever. I tweeted out, I would be perfectly fine if the Lions kept their 3rd pick and drafted Isaiah Simmons. I think he is the best player not already projected in the top 3. And I think it's scary to think that if we traded down 2 positions, that New York would want Isaiah Simmons.
I mean, I like Isaiah Simmons too. I mean, Isaiah Simmons screams Matt Patricia, Bob Quinn, versatile player.
Yeah.
Because he's so versatile to the point where it's like unreal. I mean, Isaiah Simmons is a guy who, first of all, he's freaky athletic. I mean, he's going to blow up the combine. You already know that. But Isaiah Simmons is a linebacker who you can either bring to rush the passer or you can drop him back in coverage. He's good at stopping the run, good in pass coverage, or you can put him out in either slot corner or out at corner, or you can put him at safety. I mean, he can literally play any position on defense.
He's the Draymond Green of football defenses.
It's insane that he can play literally anywhere on the defense. Insane. I mean, yeah, Isaiah Simmons is an absolute beast, and I think he'd be a great addition to the Lions, especially considering how bad their linebackers were last season.
Yeah.
But if a team like Miami came calling and offered 2 first-round picks and more additional picks to trade up to 3.
Yeah, I guess at that point.
Well, I love Isaiah Simmons, but screw that. That would be a no-brainer for the Lions.
But they would need something that juicy of a trade.
I mean, let's not also act like Isaiah Simmons is the only game-breaking defensive player available in the top. Like
Chase Young.
Well, no. Outside of Chase Young, you got Jeff Okudah of Ohio State, who is getting comparison to Jalen Ramsey. I mean, he's a stud. You got Derek Brown, who, especially if Snack retires, that would be a big addition to the defensive line. I mean, there's so many options for the Lions defensively. I mean,
I don't know. I just think that a linebacker is where you need to start with your defense, because if you look back to that 2014 Lions team, which is the like one of the pinnacles of defense that we can reference here in Detroit, it all started basically with DeAndre Levy balling out of his mind. I think that was the reason why the defensive line was so good. I think it gave the secondary opportunities to, basically play man-to-man and just, let Darius Slay do his thing.
It all starts with the pass rush.
Yeah.
It all starts with the pass rush. I don't mean to interrupt you, but yeah. I like Isaiah Simmons a lot. I really do. But at the end of the day, the only way the Lions trade down from 3 is if they get like a really, really good trade offer, which if Tua is healthy, which the reports are saying that he will be, they're going to get so many calls for that 3rd pick.
But unless the Lions make it like, so we need this guy, I don't think anybody's going to give him that juicy offer, because it's like you look at the Lions, they don't need a quarterback, although I digress. New York doesn't need a quarterback. I mean, Miami's perfectly fine just perching there at number 5 and just waiting.
Not necessarily. I mean, if you're the Lions, you can bait a team like Miami and be like, hey, I got Carolina on the phone. I got the Chargers on the phone. They're going to trade up and take Tua if you don't give me another second or something,
Yeah.
That's why having the third pick is so sexy. Like, a bunch of people hated on me for wanting the Lions to lose every game for the rest of the season. We wouldn't be talking about
Those
this if
people
we would not be
literally stupid.
we would not be talking about this if the Lions had like the 7th pick or something.
Yeah,
you know,
no.
like it's just crazy. But anywho,
We'd be praying to God we could get a Jeff Okudah.
right? We'd be like, well, we could trade down, but then we're out of the top 10. We're looking at a lesser named guy. Ugh. But at number 3, like if Matt Miller, like let's say that hypothetically happens, Lions trade back, they get the 5th pick, take Derek Brown, and then get another first-round pick with more picks added on? Oh, you kidding me?
Yeah.
That'd be huge for a win now team. Just keep on stockpiling the picks.
A win now team. I want to push my palm through the middle of my forehead.
Well, you know that's what they are. So whether you like it or not, whether we agree with it or not, that's what they are next season. And
It'll be so juicy to watch this win now team go 2-14 and
Oh.
just get a quarterback, new head coach, new GM. Oh, I'd be so elated.
he'd be spilling, ladies and
I'd
gentlemen.
be spilling, I'd be spewing.
So you obviously really like Isaiah Simmons. Really quickly before we
I
close
do.
out the show, is there anybody else you would really like?
I mean, outside of anybody from that top 3, you know,
What
Young,
is,
Burrow, and Tua.
what is your dream scenario for the Lions?
Fire.
No,
everybody
That's not
tomorrow.
what I meant. That's not what I meant. Dream scenario on draft night.
My dream, would this be like fantasy, complete fantasy?
Like if doesn't have to be, like it could be realistic, but if this happened, you would be like you'd be on the floor.
I'll be real.
Sprawled out in pleasure.
I mean, taking a quarterback, Tua.
So
No, honestly, because that would mean that they're willing to
That would-
move on from Stafford, which also means that they're ready to rebuild. And
Well-
honestly, a rebuild is what would make me spew.
you do realize if they took Tua, that would be guaranteeing Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia yet another year, right? Because I talked about this on Trash Talk today. I was joking about it with the guys. I'm like, could you imagine the Lions taking Tua next year and then Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia going to Martha and being like, hey, we have our next franchise quarterback, but he won't be able to play next year. We'll need another year to see him play. So,
Honestly, taking Tua might just immediately get them fired.
no way.
You know, like,
If they took Tua, it would be we need one more year to see what we can get from our franchise QB that we took. So be careful what you wish for if you want a quarterback this year. That's all I'm saying.
and I'm just saying that would be, I mean,
But that's your dream.
also including in my fantasy pick there.
So-
I mean, it would include a firing somewhere down the line.
Take Tua, get fired. I don't know if I like that idea at all. What is your non-QB dream scenario?
I mean, Chase Young falling to us at 3.
That's mine too.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal there.
Someone just unloads their stock into Washington and then they trade back. We get Chase Young. That would
Yep.
that's my dream scenario. I don't think that's happening, but yeah.
Yeah, and I that would be fantastic. Isaiah Simmons would be a close second.
Yeah.
Because he's not as like, you know,
He's not Chase Young.
game-changing
No.
as Chase Young, but
No.
he is so versatile in
Yeah.
a team that likes to play a versatile defense like the Lions. That'd be perfect.
By the way, little Pistons breaking news. Derrick Rose is starting tonight in Boston.
Ooh, can't wait to get this non-essential win.
Ooh, no, they're not beating Boston. Let's settle down. But with that, we talked about a lot today. I feel like this is a good stop to the episode.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot today. It was good.
We went through a lot of things pretty quickly, I would say, and I think that it's the exact opposite of last week where we had like
Almost
two topics and we went a whole full hour and 40 minutes.
I like it though. You dig it, John?
I'm happy.
You happy?
Makes editing easier, doesn't
Happy
it?
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty.
Editing's easy either way.
What's our time at? Are we at an hour?
Hour 21
Oh,
Whoa, that was actually a lot longer than I thought it was.
for the recorder, so maybe like hour 19.
That's not bad though.
Yeah, that's still, like I said, a lot longer than I thought we went. I thought we were going like 50 minutes.
With
That
that,
just shows you how great this episode was.
There you
Can we
go.
get a round of applause?
Yeah. Good episode, boys. With that, thank you guys for watching this episode of Aggressively Speaking. For Troy Frank, for John,
See you soon.
for myself, thank you for watching. We'll see you guys soon.
Have a wonderful day.